So for the participants who were in the meeting yesterday, maybe I'll do a random call of some of the names that I remember from yesterday's meeting. We can just either raise your hand to give a recap of what was discussed or your takeaways from yesterday's meeting. I'll start with Ms. Benhilda.
And just to let you know, if you would like me to recap, I can, and then maybe everybody could.
Sorry, I hadn't unmuted. For me, the takeaway from yesterday's meeting was the nutritional facts, how it's supposed to be laid out. I think that was quite a big thing for me.
Good.
Okay, thank you, Madam Benhilda. I'll sample one more before I take it to the registrar COP to make the recap. So just call on Mr. Edify Hakawandi to just give a brief summary of the takeaways from yesterday's meeting.
Mainly on the labeling part and the requirements of the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, that the labeling must be very, very clear, and it must be mainly acceptable and understood by the U.S. There is what we call generally GRAS, okay, that whenever you are labeling, it must have the ingredients clearer, it must be communicated in English, and the ingredients should be clear and understood. If there are others which are hidden, like using letters E, whatever, they must be shown also. The quantities should be very, very clear, as neat or when packed. What else can I remember? We also said we need what can I say? We need our standards clearly conceptualized or taken, so that we don't get our products marooned at the borders or rejected when they enter the USA. Thinking briefly, I think I'll go mainly on labeling briefly. I will end it there.
Okay, thank you so much for that recap. Okay, so I'll ask colleagues from the registrar COP in a minute, in 2 or 3 minutes, to give a recap of yesterday's session.
Yes. Okay, perfect. Thank you. I like that feedback. We were right on top of it. Labeling was a major conversation yesterday, and it needed to be, is that it is the number one reason why, well, shipments are detained. They're detained because people don't get the labeling correct. So I hope everyone paid attention. We'll do a recap on that with me at the very end. We're going to also talk about online training where more knowledge is available to you. But yes, definitely labeling. Also, we talked about the food safety plan, how it's important to have the HARP-C, United States Food Safety Plan. This is similar to HACCP. If you have a HACCP plan, that gets you 80% of the way, but HARP-C is the actual end result, and you have to have that. So we talked about that as well. Fabiola went into great detail. So we know that labeling is super important, but also having your food safety plan called HARP-C, that's the acronym, Hazard Analysis Risk-Based Preventive Controls, and this falls under the regulation of preventive controls. So I encourage everybody again today, take notes. It's going to allow you to engage more at the end of every session. I'm super excited to have my friend and colleague here, Betsy Hassau. She's going to bring to you a resource that Registrar Corp has available to our importers, our manufacturers, because just knowing the regulation, yes, this is part of the battle, but it's also very important to continue to educate yourself. And Registrar Corp not only offers our services to assist you, but we also give you tools to educate yourself. So I'm really fortunate to have Becky here. I'm sorry, Betsy, not Becky. Betsy here today because she's going to share with us these resources. And I want you to really pay attention to these courses because they're going to help you comply with the regulations. So without further ado, I do want to introduce our Director of Online Training, Curriculum, and Development here at Registrar Corp. Betsy joined Registrar Corp in 2020 and serves as the Director of the Online Training, Sales, and Marketing Department. She focuses on educating prospective clients on compliance and training requirements and creating an effective and convenient online training process for Registrar Corp clients. She has a background in product development and has worked in online training for food safety sector for over 20 years. That's a lot of experience coming to the table to you today. She holds a Bachelor of Arts degree in International Relations from the University of Minnesota and a Master's in International Management from St. Thomas University. So today, again, please pay attention. I just want to give a quick example that we had a client where, we provide services for him and we helped him, but it was even more helpful when he saw the tools available for him to educate himself and become even more knowledgeable so he could be more compliant. So without further ado, I'm going to give you Betsy, and there you go. I think we can pull up. First, and I'm going to share my screen. Okay, I think you got it all. Okay, Betsy, take it from here.
Good morning, good afternoon. I'm really happy to meet you virtually. I wish it was in person, but do what we can here. We're going to go over the online training program at Registrar Corp to give you some ideas of what we offer. First, I'll give an overview of the program in general, and then we'll focus on 3 courses. We do have more courses than this, and if anybody wants more information, we have plenty on our website, and I'd be happy to answer any other questions. But I think these are the 3 that will be the most beneficial for you right now. Since 2003, Registrar Corp has assisted over 50,000 companies worldwide with their US FDA compliance. In 2020, Registrar Corp acquired Vinca LLC, where I previously worked, and now encompasses Vinca's online offerings as part of Registrar Corp's comprehensive suite of FDA compliance solutions. These online training products incorporate the knowledge and experience gained by implementing, documenting, and auditing food safety and quality management systems over more than 20 years. The courses were developed by Cynthia Weber, Registrar Corp's Director of Food Safety Training and Curriculum. Cynthia has a wide range of experience with food safety and training. She's got a really unique perspective. She has consulted with many companies on food safety. She's done training, and she has other experience such as being a certified ISO 22000 and FSSC 22000 lead assessor and conducted certifications audits nationwide in the US. She's been a registered SQF consultant and trainer. She's an equipped qualified packaging auditor. She's a lead instructor for BISMA preventive controls for human and animal food. She's got a Bachelor of Science degree in microbiology. She's been registered by IRCA as an ISO 9001 lead assessor. And she's participated on the US tag to TC17 and has led numerous quality systems implementation projects in the food industries as well as other industries. So she is the one writing these courses, and so she's got a lot of experience both with food safety and with training. So she's really good at transferring information to the students. And our training is online. So you may learn from any location on your own schedule at your own pace, and you'll have hands-on practice of material, and it's a very affordable way to get trained. The training is recognized worldwide and meets training requirements for FSMA, GFSI, and others. So we'll start with PCQI training, which you may have heard mentioned yesterday. So PCQI training is for the person who will have the responsibilities of the Preventive Controls Qualified Individual, generally called PCQI, or for anyone who would like to learn more about the FSMA rule and how to write a food safety plan according to the rule requirements. So any client that manufactures, processes, or packs food and must comply with the Human Food Rule can benefit from this course. If their company needs to comply with FSMA, then their food safety plan, the HARP-C plan, must be written by a trained PCQI. There are some exemptions if you are a juice company, seafood, dietary supplements, alcoholic beverages, or USDA regulated products, then you don't need to comply with FSMA. But if you do, then you need to have a PCQI write your food safety plan in accordance with the requirements. And this plan is different from the regular HACCP plan in that it focuses on preventive controls. The goal of FSMA is to prevent foodborne illness. Therefore, the food safety plan has special requirements focusing on prevention. The training will teach you how to write that food safety plan. Once an individual has completed and passed the course, they're considered a preventive controls qualified individual. The training, as I mentioned, is all online and self-paced. This course consists of 16 chapters. Each chapter has videos, which are followed by interactive exercises that allow you to work with the information and practice it using real-world scenarios. Each chapter includes interactive exercises, so you work with the topic and confirm that you understand it. The exercises must be passed with 80% in order to move on. If it's not passed, then you will be able to try again until you do pass. So this is to confirm that you're learning the material and understanding the material and will be able to apply it in real life when you write your plan. So there's no final exam or test. And that's, a lot of people appreciate that because you don't need to worry about that. There's no time to test. You're working at your own pace. If you don't understand something, you're going to do it again until you do. So ultimately, you're going to be successful. The course simulates a classroom experience by providing videos and interactive exercises. The student will practice writing a food safety plan to gain experience and confidence in writing a food safety plan for their company. They will work with the material to write a food safety plan for a fictional company, and you receive guidance and feedback through each step. So you'll actually practice with a fictional food safety plan and think about all the hazards that need to be prevented and how you will do that. And as you write it, you will get feedback on all your answers so you can learn. The course includes approximately 20 hours of online training, a downloadable student manual, which is about 500 pages and is a great resource to use going forward. There are downloadable sample plans and resources, again, that you can look at later and refer to. You'll have 90 days to access and complete the course. And then you will receive the official FSPCA certificate of completion. And this is a great document to show your customers or the FDA if they stop by to visit. We do have a demo chapter available for you to review. Some people are curious how online training compares to a classroom. And so you can try it out and see for yourself how it works. So just let us know and we'll set that up for you. The price is $7.99 plus an additional $60 certificate fee that we pay to FSPCA on your behalf. So this is very unique because we are the first and currently the only fully online and on-demand version of the FSPCA Preventive Controls for Human Food course. We're the only course that lets you learn at your own pace. You do not have to sign up for a webinar or meet a certain schedule or travel to a certain location. If you don't understand a section, you can repeat it. You can watch the video over again. Again, you don't have to travel. And you'll have practice writing food safety plan, gain experience, gain some understanding, gain some confidence, and be ready to write your own plan. So this is, as I said, the official course. It's the standardized curriculum recognized by FDA. We are not the only provider of this course. Other people do provide classroom training or webinars, or there's even a blended format where part is online and then part is a webinar. So we're not the only provider, but we are the only ones with the self-paced option online, which includes the official certificate. The second course I want to talk about is the FSVP course. It's the Foreign Supplier Verification Program's rule from FDA. I think you're familiar with this rule from yesterday. So we'll just move on to the course. So the course is designed for U.S. importers and others who play a part in making sure requirements of FSVP rule are met, including brokers, exporters, foreign suppliers of food that will be exported to the U.S. So Fabiola explained yesterday that it's really helpful for you to understand what your importers are asking for and what they need to do in order to meet the requirements. Colby, this is beneficial for the exporters
Right.
for that reason too. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. You'll want to understand this because if you don't have an FSVP importer, and that happens often when you're sending shipments to trade shows, and so you will need an FSVP agent, and that's something, a service that we offer. But really understanding this is important because it helps you understand the expectation of your FSVP importer if you have one. And if you don't, you're going to have to hire someone to review your food safety documents before your product comes into the country, even if it's going to a food show. So you want to make sure you're in the know and understanding of what FSVP rules and regulations look like so that you can provide the adequate documents and move quickly to secure someone to do that for you.
Thank you.
We kind of just addressed.
Cool.
Yeah,
So this course works very similarly to the PCQI course. It's got 11 chapters with videos and exercises, the same process, 80% to move on. And there's no final exam. So you'll again have practice writing your foreign supplier verification programs to get experience, develop confidence, and it gets you ready to write your own or to understand your customer. So there's 10 or 11 hours of online training, a downloadable student manual, 90 days access, again, the official certificate, and it's $7.99 plus $60 for the certificate. This course is also the first and currently the only fully online on-demand version of the Foreign Supplier Verification Program. Learn at your own pace, from your location, according to your schedule. Other providers may offer the course in a classroom or a webinar, but nobody's got the fully self-paced option with the certificate. I think I'm in a loop. What's going on here?
course details. Oh, was that the
Oh,
end?
maybe I'm clicking. Sorry, everyone.
Oh, is it still going? Let's see.
Just go to
Save.
the next one.
Oh, oh.
Upload button, one more. There we go. Okay, thank you. The next product I wanted to talk to you about is a brand new e-learning library, which we have named ReggieLearn. So it's an unlimited training we have currently 54 courses in the library and we're adding more all the time. And when you have it's a subscription-based training, And with the subscription, you can take as many courses that are in the library as you like. This is separate from the PCQI and the FSVP course. They're not included in this library. And I have a short video that explains it for us. So with a subscription to the e-learning library, you get unlimited access to the courses in the library. They're designed by industry's top food safety experts. It can be used to quickly train new employees with a wide range of courses to improve food safety knowledge. You can learn key topics on food safety and also exporting. ReadyLearn is a cost-effective way to train employees and to learn key information about exporting your products to the US. We have dozens of courses tailored to specific job functions. For example, courses for frontline workers, production workers include preventing foodborne illness, bacteria basics, preventing contamination, personal hygiene. Courses more advanced for your food safety team include dangerous microorganisms in food manufacturing, control methods for pathogens, HACCP overview for supervisors, preparing and conducting recalls, and for back office workers or administration, food facility registration, export certificates, labeling basics, responding to import detentions and refusals. And then there are many more, and we add more all the time. So it's really can be effective for a company to train all levels of workers. So if you order a subscription for a number of employees, the manager will be able to assign certain courses in the library. The employees will have access to all the courses, but the manager can specify which ones the employees need to take. And the manager can view their completion reports. They can access and download certificates of completion for your records. They're also very nice to have on hand to show the inspectors. And then when a user logs into their online training account, they may browse and access any of the courses. They can take any course anytime. They can view a list of the courses their manager has assigned to them, and they also can download their certificates. It's a subscription-based training and priced per year per user. So you would purchase a subscription for each user and pay annually. If an employee with a subscription leaves or no longer needs the training, the account can be transferred to another person. The price per user decreases as you order more quantity. So it starts with $39 a month when you order for 1 to 4 persons and then goes down from there. So it's a very affordable way to train your employees. So, yeah. So that was a quick review of the 3 options that I'm focusing on today, and I'm happy to answer any questions about that.
And I do want to jump in following Betsy, because I definitely want to point out that this is a super important resource for everyone. Stop sharing. An important resource for everyone. As we talked about the food safety plan, that is extremely important new under the preventive controls regulation called HARP-C. You have to have a designated person called your PCQI. And when FDA comes to inspect your facility, they request and ask the name of your PCQI. They are the people that should be in charge of that food safety plan, have written that food safety plan, reviewed it, done the verification activities. So can we have someone hit mute on their thing? Sorry. So it's really important with these tools and resources with the Reggie Learn and the online training that you have this opportunity to get PCQI certified. And that's a certificate that you are given that says, hey, you have now gone through a course. You understand what goes in that food safety plan. It's really good for your company because it will make sure that you produce a solid, very compliant food safety plan. But it also is very impressive for FDA. When they come in and they do their inspections, it's nice for them to see a certificate. It's not required, but it is strongly advised because the food safety plan can be tricky. So I encourage all of you, if you are not PCQI aware or certified, to take the course. And this is a great way to do that. And then the Reggie Learn, I think we can say is really awesome because those are little mini bites of knowledge, correct?
Right, they're like half-hour courses,
Right.
so very convenient. Just take one and you're done.
And they're constantly updated, right, Betsy?
We keep adding.
Yeah, adding courses. So the knowledge that you're getting there is it's constantly being updated. Anything that comes down the pipe that's high in the industry, it needs attention, or maybe we can speak on. They'll do a little mini bite of a Reggie Learn for you. So it is going into great detail, but quickly. So you can constantly educate yourself. And like I said, if you're planning on entering the USA market, you want the knowledge, you want the compliance, but you want the language. When you're speaking to potential buyers, you want to make sure you're using the food safety language. It's a strong indicator that you know what you're doing and that you're compliant. Okay, so I'm going to open up the floor for some questions.
Hilda.
Thank you so much for that presentation. These sound like very interesting trainings because I think they're not just beneficial for exporting, but I think also for our own internal controls. The question I have is, you gave us prices for the PCQI training, which is $799, and also FSBP training. Are these charged together or separately?
They're separate courses. You would just purchase the one you wanted, or if you ordered both, then it would be $799 each.
Okay, that's clear. Thank you.
Okay, just as we ask more questions for those that have joined us before after introductions, just kindly write your name, the company that you're coming from, as well as your position in the chat box. Thank you. And then also just as housekeeping, kindly keep your mic on mute if you're not speaking, as well as your video if you're not in presentation mode. Thank you.
Any other questions about the courses?
So I can tell you, Betsy, we have, and I think you would agree, a lot of clients that come to us on the importer side and on the manufacturing side. And a lot of times they'll come to us initially for service guidance. They want us to write their FSVP for them on the importer side, or they want us to write their food safety plan on the foreign manufacturer side. And but even with us doing that, they take these courses because they want to empower themselves and they want to be able to take back the ability to do it themselves and manage those food safety plans and manage their FSVP plans. You can't manage something if you're not fully educated using the courses. So I definitely, again, wanted to emphasize that you can have someone write them for you, but in order to manage and execute them and maintain them, the education is crucial. And I think what's interesting also in this is the self-pace. How is that different from the industry? What is normally out there?
Right, the self-paced, the benefits of the online self-paced course compared to a classroom is that in a classroom, you're going at one pace. It's too fast for some people and it's too slow for other people. So it's really nice to be able to work at your own pace, read through the material, go through it, watch the video until you understand it. There's no harm in watching it over and over if you're not familiar with the topic. But again, if you're familiar, been working with acid for years, maybe it's, maybe you catch on really quick and only need to watch one time. So it's really nice to be able to do it at your own pace. That is what I see as the benefit. And we used to teach classroom version before the online was allowed. We taught for years. And so Cynthia, who created the course, knows what questions the students have and what are the difficult parts. And so she is sure to explain those really well. And we don't end up with people confused or asking us questions about the content. So it's really effective.
That's good. And I want to point out and distinguish, you have two types of online. You have the online training courses, which we were talking about, the FSVP and the PCQI, where you can get certifications. And then you have the RegiLearn. So there's two different things. I want to highlight that. One's a subscription based. And is that just a flat subscription or it depends on how many?
Well, it's a flat fee. The price goes down as you order more for more people at once.
Okay.
But the RegiLearn is separate. It does not include an FSVP or PCQI. The RegiLearn library is short courses on a lot of food safety topics.
Right. It's almost like getting a food safety magazine delivered to your facility every month. And so in this case, you've got, and there are videos, right?
Videos with a little quiz at the end.
Right, so that's even more interesting. I'd rather have a video with the quiz at the end than read a magazine and you learn about bacteria. I mean, it just makes it more interesting.
It does.
You absorb it easier. And again, we're getting really great feedback from our clients. And we find, again, our motto at Registrar Corp is, we just don't want to do it for you, but we want to empower you to be educated on these things. So if anything you leave from this section, and it almost reinforces what Fabiola was talking about in the food safety plan, is you have to have a designated PCQI at your manufacturing facility. That is the person that will write your United States food safety plan, which is called HARP-C, Hazard Analysis Risk-Based Preventive Controls. That person should be trained and educated. Now, FDA doesn't require certification. They look for experience and knowledge. These online courses will give you that. So if you walk away with anything from this particular segment of the workshop, PCQI, you should go back to your facilities and say, who's my PCQI? Who am I designating and how much knowledge they currently have? Can they sit down with the FDA during an inspection and speak intelligently and accurately about your food processing at your facility? And if they can't, then they need this training.
Well, the FDA inspector is going to ask where they've been trained or if they've been trained.
Yeah, or if they have equivalent experience.
Right.
And, because we've spoken to FDA and they say, look, we're not going to make you have a certification, but if we sit down with you and we don't find that you're competent in our conversation, then we have some concerns. So please, again, take it back to your teams, to your facilities, designate your PCQI. If you don't have the HARP-C food safety plan, reach out to us. Again, we can help you write it while your PCQI is getting trained with our online training. So again, all of these services and tools and resources at Registrar Corp work together to empower the foreign exporter and not just, do all the work for them. We encourage you to take this on yourself. Any questions? I would like to ask what type of industry is represented here. If you are a food manufacturer, can you tell me, if it's maybe give me, unmute your mic and say, hey, I process French fries or, potato chips, or what kind of food is out here that's sitting here today with us? I'd be very curious to know. What type of products are coming out of Zambia?
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Okay, as we're in the food industry, we manufacture clear beer.
Create what? You manufacture?
Clear beer. Clear beer.
Beer.
Clear beer.
Alcohol.
Oh,
Alcohol.
clear beer.
Oh, okay,
Is
so.
that what you said?
Yes, clear beer.
I've never heard of
Yes.
reference. Right, yeah. So clear beer is alcohol. And so therefore that's
Yes.
made by the TTB. Interesting. Okay, great. Edify, what do you have?
Yeah, we process soybean, sunflower, we manufacture cooking oil and soya lecithin.
Excellent. Sunflower oil. Matter of fact, Edify, I was on a call with a major U.S. importer, and they had some concerns about sunflower oil because they were buying most of their sunflower oil from Ukraine. And as you can imagine, their suppliers are probably not available right now. And so we told them, hey, we can help them resource because we have a tool called Marketplace, and importers can go into our marketplace and put in the word sunflower oil or any product that they're searching, and they can then identify the current exporters of sunflower oil to the United States. Are you currently exporting, or are you planning on doing so in the future?
We are planning to export. Currently, we don't have enough sunflower seed in the country, but this season looks like it will be far much better. But if we get enough seed, we should be able to export the sunflower oil.
Okay, well, excellent. So this is a great time to start learning and understanding what you need to do. And yeah, and there's obviously going to be deficiency. The U.S. market is already looking for sunflower oil exporters. So let's rush to.
Good, thanks.
Okay. Oh yes, Rose.
Yeah, we are into processing honey, natural honey.
Okay. Excellent. Okay. Excellent. Excellent. And are you currently exporting, or again, you are looking to do so in the future, Rose?
Yeah, in the near future, yes, we can export to the US according to if the processes or we qualify to export according to FDA.
Excellent. And I want to remind people, as we go through this and listen to your products, that there are major trade shows in the United States, and there's 4 top trade shows that are really good to showcase your products, especially out of Africa. And I know Coast and Brian know about this, but we have Natural Products Expo East and West on the East Coast and the West Coast. We have Fancy Food on the East Coast and the West Coast. These are 4 top trade shows, and I know that USA well, maybe not USA, but the South African Trade Association or the different regional associations attend these trade shows. So, you might be thinking, if you're looking at doing any of the East shows, which are coming up in September and June, you need to start preparing yourself on a proper cadence to get these food safety checklists done, like registering, food safety plans, labeling. If it's something you can see yourself bringing your product to the trade show in June or September, we need to start now getting you FDA ready. I want to put that out there. But honey is a great product. I love it.
Thank you.
Packaging is really important in the United States. I can tell you, you have an aisle of honeys or products, and I walk by and I go, oh, I love that packaging. So always keep in mind, have compliant labeling, of course, but really cool packaging, especially coming from Zambia. United States consumers, I don't know if you agree with me, Betsy, but we love like exotic products from around the world.
Yeah.
So when
And
you
we love pretty labels.
yeah, pretty labels and a product coming from Zambia would be amazing. All right, let's talk to is that Miite? Pandoite?
Hi, hi
Ah,
guys, how you doing?
hello.
So I'm Mit from Luano Honey, and I currently export weekly shipments in terms of like small quantities to the US, more specifically New Jersey,
Ah,
to supply a couple of African stores there.
uh-huh.
And so like I'm FDA registered and everything already. My importer there, their broker, we actually just we fulfill via DHL. So DHL is the import broker, and they were saying that for small, like if you're a small foreign supplier, um, over a certain threshold, you don't really have to um, do FSVP. So I don't know if that's correct or
Right.
not.
So you'll remember that Fabiola addressed this yesterday. If you were not here, then you would have missed it. But she spoke about the qualified facility. So a qualified facility is somebody that's making under $1 million in global sales, not just sales to the United States, but as a company, if you're making under $1 million in global sales, and you can show that over the last 3 years, then you have a modified obligation. You don't eliminate your obligation completely. So on the manufacturing side, you have a modified obligation or requirement. And then on the US importer side, he has a modified because yours is modified, right? So if you make over $1 million in global sales, you have to do everything as far as compliance. And your US importer has to check everything. But if you're modified with under $1 million in global sales, then you do a look, you're modified, and so that's why the FSVP is modified, but it doesn't go away. You have to submit an attestation to the FDA. So what happens is, if you decide to be a qualified facility, you have to submit to FDA your 3 years of records, saying financially, I'm under $1 million, here is the proof. I can tell you right now, I tell every single person that I encounter, and I think many of you have heard me speak maybe in Africa, I said, there's no point in doing this. It's more work collecting your financials and revealing your money to the FDA when you could just get the food safety plan fully written. And that way, when you do start to scale up and you get a call from Costco or anyone else, you're already in a position of readiness. So I do not, I mean, again, you do have that advantage to not, you have a modified preventive controls regulation, but I would encourage, do the food safety plan. There's no reason not to. The time that you're going to take to collect those financial documents, put them all ordered, then you have to submit them, formally submit them into the FDA database. And then when it's in the database, it red flags it like, oh, this guy's saying he's under $1 million. Let's go check into this. So you want to just, if you can save yourself, if you're going to put energy into anything, put it into your food safety plan, write it, get it done. And then the US importer is then obligated to check it. And he can still have his modified, but you have your food safety plan. You're the one that wants to be in this market. You want to be attractive to the big guys, Costco, Walmart. Those guys are going to require it of you regardless. Make sense?
Got it, thanks.
You are very welcome. Oh, and Milk, can you say, well, maybe, I don't know if you're comfortable saying who your US importer is. Is he mostly of African products, the ethnic African stores?
Yeah, well, basically they're first time importers, so this
Ah,
would be their first product actually.
okay. Well, you will be able to go to him with some knowledge. I would recommend that you push the ReggieLearn and the online training, because if he is a first-time importer, one thing I have found is they can get you into trouble. So what will happen is you'll export to the United States and they don't require that you do anything. And next thing you know, it's flagged for an FSVP inspection on his side, or the fact that you're shipping, FDA goes, oh, let's go inspect their facility. And if you're deficient in any way, you can get a warning letter. And that right there is on your reputation, which then affects somebody like a Costco or a Walmart who might or might not find you attractive anymore because A, you're a first-time shipper, a small shipper, and now you have a warning letter. So you want to know more than your US importer, and you want to educate the small US importers that don't know. So push them these links, tell them, hey, do the FSVP course so he can get educated as well.
One thing
Will
I
do,
forgot
thanks.
to mention, one thing I didn't mention about the FSBP course is that it's new and it will be available probably April 7th.
Right, so there's an introduction FSBP course, which your US importer can take, but then there's gonna be a more full-blown one that's more detailed, and that is something that would be very helpful for a very, big US importer or a US importer that's gonna be shipping frequently. But it sounds like this guy is a first-time importer, so if you got a quick refresh on your introduction course.
Right, and that's a short 2-hour course for $249.
Right, and you're gonna find out, oh, yes, no, did you have another question? Oh, Edna. Oh, I'm sorry, Mil-
Edna.
okay. Hello,
Okay,
Edna.
hello, good afternoon. Thank you so much. This is very enlightening. I wanted to find out if someone wanted to be an agent. My brand is called Lien Investments and is an African in the US, specifically Zambian, would like to represent the brand. That end. What could be your comment?
I'm sorry, what was the product?
Oh,
My question is like agency, like to become an agent.
A US agent in your
What?
food facility registration?
Yes, FDA. What would be your comment or your guide on that one?
So she's got someone in the US from Zambia who wants to be an import agent.
Oh, an
What do
import
they need
agent.
to do?
Okay, so we only assist with areas of FDA, and that's getting into customs. And when you use the word agent, I'm very cautious because sometimes people use it, kind of loosely. So I want to make sure I understand. If you're talking about somebody in the United States to help you do business versus, or are you talking about the U.S. agent in your food facility registration, which we're going to talk about later on today? But you're talking about someone to facilitate your business in the United States? As far as you, an agent?
Okay, what I mean is I have an office here.
Yep.
Then someone wants to partner with me representing my brand, that side.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
All right, so that again is outside our scope, but I always recommend, what I find is on the US side, at the embassies or your consulates, they usually have a trade organization. I know South Africa does, and they have a trade organization that's what they do in the United States. So if you reach out to the United States Trade Organization, they help you partner with buyers. I'm sure USA does this as well. I think Coast, if I'm correct, I don't know if you're on the call, but you guys assist with that. I've seen you on the floor at the trade shows. They try to arrange meetings and make that happen. So I would check to see what type of Zambia trade organization you have in the United States. Start with your embassy, your consulates. Usually, if it's a food trade organization for your country, it's based in your consulate in New York. Most of the food trade organizations for any embassy is in New York, but it could be different for Zambia. But that's where I would start. We don't assist with finding you that. We focus purely on the regulations. I'm sorry. Good question, though. And, while I have you, if you don't have another question, and please raise your hand if you do, I do want to clarify, because often the word agent is thrown around, and I want to tell you there is currently like 2 different types of agents in the food world when it comes to compliance. So I want to make sure that you use that word properly in the compliance world. When you have a registration, you have to designate a U.S. agent inside of your registration. So that is the one agent that we're talking about, the one that purely is somebody that you designate to be available to the FDA 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. In the case that FDA has a question, they're not going to call Zambia. They're going to call your U.S. agent, the person that you designate inside of your U.S. FDA regulation. So that's one agent that I'm talking about. Then Fabiola pointed out yesterday that in your if you don't have an FSBP importer, meaning if you don't have an importer and you're shipping your samples to a trade show, you're going to need an FSBP agent. And that agent is not, again, for your business, it's the person that, because you don't have a US importer, this FSBP agent is going to review the documents for you. because usually it's the job of the importer to review your food safety documents. But if there is no U.S. importer because you're just shipping to a trade show to show your samples, then you have to hire an FSBP agent. And that's the second agent that I reference when it comes to compliance. So make sure that when you're using these words, and I now understand with Edna, you are referencing a business agent, a business partner type agent. But normally in our compliance world, agent is inside your food facility registration or somebody that you hire as an FSBP agent to review your food safety documents so that you can enter your product in the United States. Any other questions? Okay. All right. Well, then I think then we'd like to move on to the next portion of the presentation, the workshop then. Is that what we would like to do?
Okay, thanks so much. So yes, please, if there are no other questions, we'll move on to the next part of the presentation. And I do note that we are 15 minutes ahead of time. So if we can go into the next part, which is a top 10 summary, that would be good.
Yes. Okay, perfect.
Just to add though that participants are free to type in the chat box if they have missed this opportunity to ask a question by unmuting their mic or raising their hand. So please feel free to use the chat box to just type in your questions as they speak.
Perfect. Yep. Thank you. Okay, so what we're going to talk about today, you heard from Fabiola about food safety and the food safety plan. You heard from Anna Benavente regarding labeling, and now you've recently heard from Betsy regarding education and online tools and resources. But let's get to the nitty gritty about how does the FDA work. And I like to share this with you because a lot of times the regulations can be daunting, overwhelming. But when you really understand the thought process behind them, then it allows you to comply maybe a little easier, less reluctantly, and then do it without discombobulation. So how does the FDA work? I think we mentioned earlier that a lot of people say, oh, they go to a trade show and I walk up to a booth and they say, oh, my product has been FDA approved. FDA does not approve anything. They set out a series of guidelines and rules that you must comply with. So if you're going to be doing business in the United States, please, please, please never say my product is FDA approved. They're not approving facilities. They're not approving products. Your facility is FDA compliant. Your product is FDA compliant. So please make note of that. And the way it works is Congress passes a law. They make a law, and then FDA writes the regulation to match that law. FDA is also an educator as well as an enforcer. So you have to kind of see them as both. Now, I was mentioning to you before that often a U.S. importer can actually get their foreign exporter with a problem because you want to be knowledgeable on the foreign exporter side about these FDA regulations because your reputation counts. How does it count? Well, when you fill out a prior notice and your custom broker does an entry form for you to ship to the United States, all of that data goes into a system called the PREDICT system. And the PREDICT system is a database that FDA has that reviews the inherent product risk, the shipper's FDA compliance history, the shipper being you, the manufacturer. What is your FDA compliance history? Do you have warning letters? Do you have import alerts? Do you have import refusals? Do you have any of these things? And if you do, that risk number in this PREDICT database goes up. And when your risk number increases, it increases the likelihood that your shipment will be detained. So if you've made a good deal with Walmart or Costco, your shipment's coming from Zambia, and it's going to get detained, possibly, if you have a high risk number. Now, that risk number also is based on, again, the product risk. Is it seafood? The shipper's history. Do you have any warning letters? And then also your U.S. importer's history with the FDA. Do they have any import refusals and problems like that? Is your registration valid? Do you have any labeling errors? All of these affect your predict score. So that's why I tell you, we're talking to you today to empower you, and don't be tripped up by an uneducated U.S. importer. So if you're, especially if you find with the U.S. importers that are importing for a lot of the ethnic stores, a lot of times, they'll bring it in, they're novices. And like I said, and they're wonderful. I mean, it's a U.S. importer and we need those ethnic stores. But keep in mind, if he doesn't know and you don't know, ignorance is not an excuse. So please make sure that as we educate you, you educate your U.S. importers so that you don't get one of these enforcement actions on you, which is a bad inspection, an import refusal. That's when your product comes into the port. And I had this happen with one of my importers. He brought in all of this product from Thailand, and the product came in and the labeling was no good. And so normally FDA will let you redo the labeling. And a lot of times they do, but this particular importer, okay, has done this several times. And he had a repeating offense. And so FDA said, forget it. We're not giving you any chance to redo these labels, import refuse. And so it has to go back out to the country. Import alerts are the way that the FDA communicates with all the different ports around the United States. And if they see a repetitive problem with a particular product coming from a particular country, shipped by a particular company, they put you on import alert, which means all of the different ports are alerted that your particular product or your particular company, every time you ship to the United States, must be stopped for testing. So if you don't want that, again, you have to educate yourself and make sure your U.S. importer is educated, because that whole relationship is reflected in that predict score that we talked about earlier. And then, in the more severe areas, which is not common, if you're really, really negligent, you can get a suspension of your registration or civil and criminal penalties. These are the way FDA enforces the regulations. But you have to be seriously negligent to have a civil or criminal penalty. But let's not go down that route. Let's keep in the realm of compliance, making sure that everybody you're doing business with is compliant. So some basic FDA requirements. We talked about the number one thing is FDA food facility registration. And most people back in 2002, it's called the Bioterrorism Act. They required that you register, all facilities register in order to do business in the United States. And before it was register one and done. You registered and you were finished. You got your 11-digit number, you were good to go. But now FDA decided, gradually over time, they started making this food facility registration a little more complex. And what I mean by that is not only do you need to register, but you need to register every other year, because it allows you to update information inside of your registration, which you couldn't do before. And then on top of that, you normally would have to designate a U.S. agent in your registration. But now, an additional step has been added that when you designate that U.S. agent inside of your registration, you have to have them verify and confirm that they accept the designation. So if you put, for example, you do your registration and you put in your cousin Eddie and put it into the tool, into the registry. Hello? Oh, did somebody have a question? Oh, okay. So your cousin Eddie's name is put into the registration as your U.S. agent, okay? Because cousin Eddie lives in the United States. Your U.S. agent must be in the United States. And so if you're a foreign facility. And so you put cousin Eddie's name in there, and then FDA will send a confirmation email to cousin Eddie. If he does not respond, your registration is not complete and will be canceled or never activated. So it's super important that when you're choosing your U.S. agent inside your registration, you choose somebody that this is their business. This is what they do. And we act as U.S. agent to over 30,000 companies around the world. So if you need that, we can assist. Registration, I tell everybody, is the line okay?
Hello, ma'am. How are you?
I'm very well.
Chris, kindly mute your mic.
Please.
Okay. So with the FDA registration, there's some exemptions. Not everybody needs to register. So I always tell people the litmus test to knowing whether you need to register is the building that you're registering. Does it manufacture? Does it process? Does it package? Does it store food for animal or human consumption? If you don't do any of those things, don't register. A lot of times people register their office because they're the brand owner, but they're not necessarily the manufacturer because they have a co-packer doing this for them. And you don't do that. You cannot, the FDA can fly all the way over from the United States to Zambia to knock on your office door and find no food to inspect. They're not going to be happy. So please understand, you should not be registering if you're not manufacturing at that location, processing, packaging, or storing food for animal or human consumption in the United States. If you're not doing any of those things at that location, do not register. The registration follows the food. Okay, who's manipulating, touching, and having possible exposure to the food. Some other exemptions are trading companies because they're trading, doing deals back and forth, but they don't touch the food. Personal residents don't have to register, transportation only. Farms, but be careful on the farms because if a farm is a grower, he doesn't register. But if the farm is a grower and then does further packaging or processing on the farm processing, then he has to register. Retail food stores don't have to register. Fishing vessels, and of course, USDA regulated facilities do not have to obviously register with the FDA. Like we mentioned, keep in mind, once you register, every 2 years on the even years, you have to renew your registration. Facilities, when you register, you're basically saying to FDA, come inspect me. So make sure when you register, you're ready to go. You want to be FDA compliant. And when they come on site, they can not only just inspect your facility, but they can look at your labels, your food safety plans. So be ready, okay, compliant. And that's why we're here today talking about what you need to know. Here's some top countries that export to the United States, and these are registrations that they have. And so in 2020, France, for instance, had 11,815 registrations, but in 2021, it dropped to 9,500. Now, that could also be some COVID, but also it could be that, again, people failed to renew. The registrations were canceled. So you can see the differences and drops here in some major countries of export to the United States. So you want to stay on top of your registration. Prior notice. This is an action that you must take when you're shipping to the United States. Now, normally, your custom broker can do this, your U.S. importer can do this, you can do this. And basically, you're giving prior notice to the United States saying, I'm about to ship my product. And if you don't have a prior notice, that's for air shipments, that's for sea shipments, that's border crossing. You have to have a prior notice. And basically, FDA came up with this because, in the past, shipments would show up at the port and nobody would be claiming them. They'd just be sitting there. So in the age of bioterrorism and issues like that, they wanted to always know when something was coming. And so when it hit the port, they knew what was going on. So in that prior notice, it clearly defines what you're shipping to the United States. And that type of information can then trigger, in the PREDICT database, oh, well, he said he's sending seafood. It's coming from a first-time exporter, and his U.S. importers had problems in the past. We talked about that PREDICT score. All that information in your prior notice, it's going to be in that PREDICT system, and then they're going to decide, we need to stop the shipment because it's high risk. So always know who you're doing business with. We talked about the food canning establishment with Anna. So we want to remind you that not only do you register your facility, your normal FDA registration, but if you have products that look like this, then they quite possibly could need a second registration. So keep in mind, based on pH balances and water activity, if your product looks like this, and then you also assess the pH balance and the water activity to confirm that they are a low acid canned food or acidified food, then you need to have the second registration, okay? So keep in mind, if your food looks like this and the pH balance and water is this, then you need a food canning establishment registration, okay? And that is a second registration that you have to have. So please be mindful of that. A lot of people forget the second registration. They're registered with the FDA. They ship their bottle or canned goods to the United States and they're detained because FDA will see these Tetra Paks in these jars and these cans, and I'll go, this looks like you need a low acid can. This is a low acid canned food or acidified food. So we call it FCE SID. So when you look at that food canning establishment, that's the FCE that I'm saying. So a lot of times if it gets to court, FDA will say, do you have an FCE? And that's the food canning establishment registration. The second registration you would need if you have a product like this with the proper pH and water activity numbers. If you have a doubt about your product, here are the links that Registrar Corp has created to identify whether your products are subject to FCE SID regulations. You can click on that FCE wizard and answer questions, and they'll let you know. And then below is the SID verifier. That's the number that FDA gives you that confirms your cooking process at your FCE facility. And if you want to verify that they're still valid, you can go to this site and have that as well. So in my presentation, we're summarizing everything that you heard yesterday. So we've talked about registering with FDA. We talked about how important your reputation is because when you enter the port and the FDA receives your shipping details or your prior notice, your reputation, your U.S. importer's reputation is important. We now are talking about the second registration that would be needed for canned or Tetra Pak foods. Food labeling, we talked about this yesterday as well. Just as a recap, there are 5 examples of changes to the nutritional facts label. The serving sizes have changed based on the recommended allocated balances that normally were for consumer consumption. The declaration of added sugar you see there, total sugars 12 grams. Now it includes the added sugars. So this is really super important as the United States is facing diabetes and a lot of heart disease. FDA wants to reflect this in the labeling. They're just not making this up, but they're addressing health concerns in the United States by changing these nutritional facts labels. So please note that before you ship, have your labels reviewed. Super important. We talked about the compliance dates for the new label for FDA. They've already passed. So please make sure that before you ship, have us review your label. So I talked about really understanding the mindset behind regulations. FDA shift it to being more proactive. They don't want to be reactionary. So a lot of the new regulations under FSMA, and FSMA is a word that you should know. If you don't know it now, know it today. FSMA is an acronym for the Food Safety Modernization Act. You see it up there in the top left on the screen, FSMA, FSMA, FSMA. This is the big basket of new regulations that came out starting in 2011. That's when the Food Safety Modernization Act was signed into law by Obama. And so therefore, moving forward, we have all of these other regulations that have fallen out of it or, come from it. So as you can see on this chart, you have the preventive controls regulation for animal and human food. That's that preventive controls regulation that yielded the new food safety plan for the United States called HARP-C, Hazard Analysis Risk-Based Preventive Controls. Hazard Analysis Risk-Based Preventive Controls, HARP-C. That is the United States food safety plan that was born out of the regulation called preventive controls. Foreign Supplier Verification Program. That also is on the U.S. importer side. So when we talk about understanding the mentality of the FDA, the preventive controls was created because if you think about it, the United States only had food safety plans for juice and seafood. They were HACCP juice, HACCP seafood. But the muffin man, the cookie maker, the cereal maker had no food safety plan for review in the United States. So they said, you know what? We care about the cereal guy, the muffin man, the cereal maker. All of those guys need food safety plans. And that's why they came up with the preventive controls regulation that now scooped the rest of the food industry into a requirement of a food safety plan. Before it was HACCP seafood, HACCP juice. And then the dietary supplements had current good manufacturing practices, but everybody else had nothing. So again, that's where HARP-C was born out of. And in the Foreign Supplier Verification Program, you want to understand that targets the U.S. importer. FDA is saying for the first time, U.S. importer, you've never been dragged into the FDA compliance or accountability for your foreign exporters. We are now going to say, U.S. importer, it's because of you. This food is coming to the United States, so you check it. And that is where the foreign supplier verification program is born out of. It's making the U.S. importer accountable for his business relationships with his foreign exporter. So if he's going to do business with somebody from Zambia, it is now the responsibility of that direct importer to check your food safety plan, check your processes, and confirm your FDA compliance. But I, again, tell you this so you can understand the expectation of your U.S. importer. The Foreign Supplier Verification Program is big. It is the first time FDA has dragged the U.S. importer into the equation and made him accountable for your compliance. So that's why I tell you there's no room for bad reputation with FDA, you know, with warning letters and import alerts and import refusals, because now the U.S. importer has to care. He has to check your processes. He has to check your reputation. He has to confirm and have an approved list of suppliers that says, I approve this manufacturer from Zambia because I checked their FDA compliance, I checked their food safety plan, I checked everything, and I am going to do business with them. And he has to know that. And FDA can come inspect the U.S. importer and confirm that he did this. And if he didn't, like Fabiola mentioned before, then they can start looking at you because they're like, you know, just like the gentleman was telling me that he exports to New Jersey. If FDA goes and inspects that U.S. importer and finds out that he has not collected any food safety documents from his Zambia exporter, that raises a big red flag for the Zambia exporter. So you want to make sure all of your ducks are in a row and that not only you are compliant, but your U.S. importer is following the regulations as well. You also see on here the sanitary transportation, the voluntary qualified importer program, and the intentional adulteration. FDA is trying to be more proactive and less reactionary. Again, we talked about the preventive controls in the HARP-C food safety plan. This is big. Please, you have to register and you have to have your food safety plan for the United States. We talked about how this preventive controls regulation includes food additives. Don't think it doesn't include food additives. It does. And then generally recognized substances as safe includes them. Dietary ingredients includes them. So you need a HARP-C food safety plan if you have a food for animal or human consumption being shipped to the United States. So here kind of breaks down the food safety plan. I think Fabiola mentioned in her presentation that one of the differences here is that the United States Food Safety Plan called HARP-C has a recall plan that needs to be followed in the case of emergency. And that's indicated here. And we've always said, and Fabiola laid them side by side, HACCP and HARP-C, that HACCP, if you have a HACCP plan, you know, you're 80% of the way there. But unfortunately, the homework assignment is different coming from the United States. It's HARP-C. So you just need to take that information from HACCP, put it into your HARP-C, and then add the other 20% that's missing. So the good news is if you have a HACCP plan currently for your facility, you're 80% of the way there. You're not all the way there, but you've got a good start. So please complete your HARP-C, have it ready, because it's almost like your calling card, your business card when you're doing business with the Costco's and Walmart. They want to see this done. Okay, so we have exemptions. We talked about this retail establishment. You know, you don't have to have a food safety plan. Stored packaged foods with no exposure to the environment. So if you're a packaged food and it's just in a warehouse, not open, then you don't have to have a food safety plan. And farms with that includes animal feed, again, just growers, no food safety plan. Foods, juice, and seafood are exempt. We talked about that because FDA is always required that juice and seafood have a HACCP plan, food safety plan. So in the United States, we always had plans for juice and seafood. Dietary supplements are under current good manufacturing practices. Alcohol beverages are under TTB, like the gentleman with the clear beer. And the USDA regulated products clearly do not have to comply with FDA. We also talked earlier, you guys, about the qualified facility in a very small business under preventive controls, under $1 million, under $500,000. Again, you can be exempt, but you have to do this attestation applicability. So you have to submit to the FDA a qualified facility attestation, and it must be submitted and accepted by FDA, saying that I am a small business or I am a qualified facility. I want to have modified requirements under my food safety. Again, you heard my opinion on this. I just don't think it's worth it. All the work you're doing to be a small business when you're trying to grow and be scalable in the United States, do the food safety plan. It shows that you're committed to the market, you're serious about what you're doing, but you do have that avenue. I can't tell you not to do it, but I just advise you, because I hear all the time from the Costco's and Walmarts, they're going to require it anyway. So you want to do that. Again, we talked about the Foreign Supplier Verification Program known as FSVP. That's a buzzword, know it. You have FSMA, you have FSVP, you have PCQI. PCQI is the person that writes your food safety plan at your facility. Now we're talking about the FSVP, Foreign Supplier Verification Program. And again, this is where the importer is being called to do some work, do some due diligence on his foreign supplier. So he has to do verification activities in his FSVP, in his Foreign Supplier Verification Program. He has to look at his foreign supplier, look at the risk level of the product, the risk level of the supplier's reputation, and then say, these are the verification activities that I'm going to do. I'm going to require that he has an annual audit, third-party audit. I'm going to do maybe testing of the food, whichever he decides. It's at the U.S. importer's discretion. And he keeps that report on site. And currently FDA is doing FSVP inspections. And Fabiola also mentioned that yesterday, where she said that, the FDA can walk into a U.S. importer's office and have insight into your facility in Zambia by looking at the documents that the U.S. importer is keeping on your facility. So again, if the U.S. importer has no documents on your facility, and FDA then goes to inspect him, and they will, because in the entry, when they're doing the entry for your shipment, the custom broker has to put, if it's a food, who the FSVP importer is. So if you're shipping honey to the United States, the custom broker will put honey as the product, and then boom, a little section will pop up in the entry saying, who is the FSVP importer? Meaning, who is the importer responsible for checking the documents of this foreign supplier? And the custom broker has to put the name of the U.S. importer in there. The moment it goes into FSVP party name, FDA can pick from that list. There's a list constantly that they can pull of all importers that are listed as FSVP importer, Foreign Supplier Verification Program importer. And then they go, oh, well, let's go inspect this guy in Jersey and see what kind of documentation he has on the Zambia exporter. So please, please make sure that your U.S. importer, you comply with his request for your documents, because he has to ask for them and verify that, again, you're processing your product in good FDA compliance. So each supplier has to have a food safety plan at each different facility. And the U.S. importer is responsible for checking those food safety plans, reviewing for hazard analysis, critical control points, and preventive controls, and then stating the verification activities he plans to do throughout the year. And then he has to sign that FSVP and approve the supplier and keep it right there at his office. And when he gets the remote inspection request or an on-site inspection request, the U.S. importer should be able to pull your documents and show them to FDA. If that's not happening, then be concerned. Please, please, again, comply with your U.S. importer's request. They don't want to know your manufacturing practices so they can duplicate your efforts. They have to do it by law. Okay, facility inspections. You guys, one day, once you register with FDA, that's saying, come inspect me. I am compliant. I am open for inspection at any time. So FDA comes out for, just for numerous reasons, and they will come out and help FDA, it helps them make admissibility decisions. It helps them understand your product. And sometimes it's just random. So a food facility's risk profile can trigger an inspection. So again, if you're having a high risk product, a lot of people know the obvious ones like seafood, but honey can carry botulism, certain levels of it. And so therefore that could be considered a risky product, a delicious and wonderful product, but it can have its issues. And so, when you look at a facility's risk profile of the product The process complexities, we're talking about food canning establishment type complexities, because when you can something, jar something, Tetra Pak something, if not sealed properly, then you can have botulism. You can have, almost a death experience with the type of bacteria that can multiply in a product. So that process complexity can be a trigger to bring FDA out to inspect. Another trigger could be the facility's compliance history. Do you have a lot of import refusals? Do you have warning letters, import alerts? This is why this goes back to when I talked to you, be compliant at the beginning, and do not be so desperate to get into the US market to take any US importer that takes you that is not compliant. You ask him questions. Aren't you supposed to be checking my food safety plan? Aren't you supposed to be like collecting something from me? Because, we all want to get into the US market, but you do it wrong the first time and you've got a reputation. It's on your compliance history. So you do want to do it right the first time. Check those labels before you ship. Make sure you're registered and you have a designated US agent and you have your food safety plan and everything. So it's important that you do your part, but then you look at your business partner on the other side and say, is he doing his part? Okay, inspection. They're going to give you a notice of inspection. Usually the notice is sent by email to the registrant's email as indicated in your food facility FDA registration, but it also sends it to your US agent via email. So again, I mentioned to you that we act as US agent to over 30,000 companies around the world. So when any of our companies receive a notice of inspection, we get that notice. And this is usually where it will come from and at fda.ahs.gov. You have 5 days to respond. Do not respond, please. I mean, you need to respond. You put yourself further on the radar, you aggravate the FDA, you have to respond. Okay, factory profile information form. Once you reply to FDA's Office Regulatory Affairs, will contact you. And it may take a few days. They're not always back-to-back phone calls or emails. It might take a moment. They're going to coordinate the inspection date, ask you to complete and return a factory profile information form, and then FDA will then come back with the name of the investigator and the flight information and so on. Now, and we will tell you that when we act as U.S. agent, if any of our clients receive a notice of inspection from FDA, we have a service where we can dispatch any of our food safety inspectors anywhere in the world to go and pre-inspect our facility, that facility, to prepare them for the inspection. It's called a mock FDA inspection. It's not free of charge, but it is less expensive if you are our U.S. agent client. So if we act as U.S. agent to your company and you receive a notice of inspection, we, for a small charge, will dispatch one of our inspectors out to you and prepare your facility, help you prepare your facility by performing a mock FDA inspection. A single inspection can focus on multiple requirements. It could be looking at, and these are assuming these requirements are needed for your product. They can look at your labeling. They can look at your emergency permit control. They can look at your current good manufacturing practices, low acid canned foods, and so on. So this is kind of like a breakdown what a FDA inspection looks like. We've actually had several here. We're not a U.S. importer, but often we act as FSBP agent for foreign suppliers that don't have a U.S. importer and they're shipping for a trade show. So we offer that service as FSBP agent, Foreign Supplier Verification Program agent. And so when we, like I told you before, when it goes into the database and then the custom broker puts in, oh, this is a food entering the United States, who is the FSBP importer? Well, there is no importer. So they put in Registrar Corp because we are the FSBP agent. We've been hired by that foreign company to be their FSBP agent. And once our name goes in there, again, FDA can put a list of all of the U.S. importers acting as FSBP importer or agent, and they will come and inspect. So, so we know what this looks like. But for you guys, it's the same thing. Introductions, opening meeting, quick tour, document review. That's day one. They're going to look at your documents and see your food safety plans. Is it signed by your PCQI? I'm sorry, is it written by your PCQI? Who is your PCQI? Are they knowledgeable about your processes? FDA will almost always issue a Form 483 with an inspection observation. So it's going to identify all the deficiencies. It's left with your management and provides contact details for your response within 15 business days. So don't argue with the inspector, fix the small stuff while he's there, and then make sure you respond and provide documentary evidence of all of your fixing of whatever they've asked from you. Now, after you respond to FDA, or if you never respond, they will eventually classify the inspection. This is what the U.S. importer sees. This is what your buyer is going to see, and what will be a public record. When your FDA inspection is finished, you're either going to get an NAI, which is no action indicated, meaning this is a great inspection, no action indicated, or voluntary action indicated, meaning like we found some things, it's not critical, it's voluntary if you fix it. And then official action indicated, meaning, whoa, a lot of not good. You have to fix these problems. So you always want to make sure that you come out of an inspection with an NAI, no action indicated. FDA closes the inspections on this particular link here, you'll see. So again, this goes back to the FSVP on the U.S. importer side. Before he chooses to do business with you, he'll be checking this link. And seeing if your company's mentioned and what your inspections look like. They will look at, if you get an official action indicated inspection, you could also probably get a warning letter. And then if you respond properly and fix the problem, you can get a closeout letter. They can also cause attention at the ports if you have an official action indicated, because now at the port they're saying, did you fix that problem? We might need to test your food. It can cause registration suspension or reinspection under FSMA. So being prepared is critical. And again, that's why Registrar Corps spend a lot of time working with your associations, keeping you educated. And that's why it's also important that you ask the questions that you do during these workshops. Because just like the question was asked about the export to New Jersey, maybe you didn't know that, you have a U.S. importer talking to you, they don't always know the regulations. Like you said, it's the first time U.S. import and he's importing to the United States. You want to know more than your importer if you can, or at least as much as they do. And so preparedness is critical for an inspection, because the moment you register, you are saying to FDA, come inspect. So a lot of our Registrar Corp solutions are directly paired with the FDA regulations. So, and they're just very cut and dry at a fixed fee. We don't charge hourly. We look at what your needs are. So if you need to register and have a U.S. agent, that's a service. Prior notice assistance, we can help labeling, ingredient, and product review. We assist with low acid canned food. We help with FCE, the Food Canning Establishment Wizard, and the SID Verifier. I showed you those links. Those are free. The food safety and FSMA compliance services, that was Fabiola when she was talking about the HARP-C food safety plan. We write HACCP plans. We can help you. We had Betsy here that says, although we are helping you, we want you to continue to educate yourself with like our online courses and get that certification for PCQI, which tells FDA you know what you're talking about when you're writing that food safety plan. Subscribe to the RegiLearn, because the RegiLearn is going to give you little mini bites of information at your leisure, and you can kind of tap on it and get some information about bacteria, botulism, canning establishments, whatever. So these are little bites of information. We have mock inspections. If you are doubting that your facility is FDA ready for a fee, we can come out there and pre-inspect before an inspection, or we can come out and just inspect as a paid service. And our inspections are very equivalent to FDA's as far as what you will experience with FDA. And then we have the FDA Compliance Monitor and FSMA Wizard. Detention assistance. If you have a problem with a detention, we can step in and assist you. We have in a department that's all they do. And I want to share with you one last thing here. See if I can pull that up. Okay. I think we have a little time, so what I'm going to do here is here. Stop sharing for one little second. I'm going to show you a tool that a lot of the U.S. importers are currently using, and they use it to monitor their foreign suppliers. And I show you this because it's okay. Okay, I might not be able to show this right away. I might have to get some assistance on the sample account, the login. But I want to reiterate that, again, the U.S. importer is obligated to monitor their foreign suppliers and, you know, be aware of who he's buying from and justify that he has done his due diligence and checked everything. And that is all I have for you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that very elaborate training. I'll open the floor for questions. Any questions, any clarifications from the participants? Please feel free to raise your hand or open your mic to contribute. Okay, we have a question there from Mrs. Mwanza. Please go ahead.
Thank you so much. Everything is clear and the summary was okay. It's not a question, but a request. Maybe she can share the slides through you, our ZAM presenters, so that maybe we can, at our own convenient time, we go through what we have learned.
Yes.
Thank you.
Definitely do that. Thank you, Rose. That's a great idea. Again, I reiterate, those are going to be good summaries for review, but you definitely want to take advantage of the Read to Learn or the online training.
Okay, yes, thanks so much. Mrs. Kalala, the floor is yours.
I just wanted them to take us back to the exempt. I didn't seem to understand. What do you mean by exempt? And on seafoods, I deal in smoked fish. So I wanted to understand whether fish falls under seafood. Thank you.
Right. So we're talking about the preventive controls regulation, and that's the food safety plan. I had mentioned to you that before that new food safety plan came out, FDA already had in place the HACCP seafood plan for any seafood being manufactured in the United States or shipped to the United States had to have a seafood HACCP plan that FDA required. They've always required that. The same thing for juice. And then, so you would be under the HACCP plan. Now, I know when it comes to smoked or something, Fabiola is a specialist, and I would want to double check it to make sure that your smoked seafood stays still categorically exempt and only is under the HACCP plan. It should only be. I don't know if Fabiola is on the call.
Hello, Chloe. I am. Yes, smoked seafood would still fall under the HACCP regulation in 21 CFR 123.
Okay, perfect. Right. So, and the seafood would still fall under HACCP, so it's exempt from the HARC-C preventive controls, new food safety plan, I call it. So you don't have to comply with that, but you do have to comply with HACCP seafood. Is that clear?
Okay, thanks so much, Mrs. Kalala. Does that answer your question? Okay, she's raised her hand, so I'm assuming she's
Yes, it
clear.
has. Thank you.
Okay,
Yes,
thanks
please.
so much. Mr. Edify?
Thank you so much. Having gone through on the requirements on FDA. Is there extra help we can get from the organization? Say we put what we think we have put in place, and can we come through to get some assistance by experts or something to do a sort of an audit on what we have put in place? Is there any such type of help we can get?
Right, great question. So we definitely can assist in this, and that's what's beautiful about Registrar Corp. We have the services, the resources, and the tools to make you successfully compliant. And so if you're talking about your facility itself, and you would like someone to look at that, as I mentioned earlier, we can have a food safety for a fee come out there. One of our food safety inspectors come out and do a mock FDA inspection and review your facility. If it's a food facility. And then we talked about the RegLearn and the online training. I cannot stress enough, this is compatible, compliant, it's supporting, it's empowering, it's highlighting everything that you need to know at FI. So, you know, like I said, we can assist in writing things for you. We can come out and inspect your facility, but everything is pulled together under the online training and the RegLearn.
Okay, thank you so much. We have a comment in the chat box, and they would like the registrar contact details. So, Coley, if you can put it in the chat box.
Yes, I can
Yes.
share my screen again. I think I took it down too fast.
Okay.
But yes, let me do that real fast.
Yeah, so they can be left on the screen as we go to the next question. I think I saw a hand from, okay, it's down now. I don't know if it has been, if their answer or clarification has been given.
Yes, please.
Okay, I see another hand. Is this a new hand, Miss Kalala?
Yes, it is. I want to take advantage and ask all my questions.
Yes, please.
I wanted yes, I wanted to find out. I've been through the GFSI training that was organized by the Ministry of Commerce. I wanted to see the relationship between that and the courses that you are giving, and whether GFSI is also recognized by FDA. Thank you.
That's a very good question, and I'm actually calling Betsy back in. There our question. To answer that question, because that's an online training, and as the director, she might have greater knowledge on that. I don't know, Fabiola, if you know the difference, but I just asked Betsy to come in.
Yes, I can help. So GFSI is a world recognized training. However, it does not align with FDA requirements. Like, you would have to ensure that your system meets specifically FDA requirements. Having GFSI does not guarantee that you are compliant with FDA.
She's kind of answering it. I like it as well. We have Betsy as well. Thank you, Fabiola.
Thank you.
And also, Betsy, you might want to put in on that.
Right, so we've got courses for GFSI standards. We've got SQF and FSSC courses. So if your customers are asking you to be certified to a GFSI standard, then those will be really helpful to help you learn the requirements and implement that into your company. PCQI is separate. If you need to comply with FSMA, you need PCQI. So the GFSI standards would be in addition, not instead of. They do complement each other.
Super helpful.
So a lot of the SQF, FSSC, they include a lot of the same requirements, but it's not exactly the same. So it would be something you do both. But FSMA is a law. GFSI is market driven. It's not a requirement unless your customer says it's a requirement for you. Does that answer the question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Good question. Good question. Give us some more. Give us some hard questions, guys. That's what this workshop's about. I'm sitting here. I'm ready. I would be curious. Oh, right. They wanted to show this.
Oh,
Hold on 1 second. Yeah, we couldn't see if anybody's hand was raised here. Okay. Maybe by raise of hands, I'd be really curious if you raise your hand, if you are currently registered with FDA. That's kind of a interesting thing. Anybody currently here today registered with the FDA? Please put your hand up in the thing. Okay. One. Carol's registered. Good. Anybody else currently registered with the FDA? I thought I got another gentleman
where do they
raised.
scroll down? Can we see? Just one.
Anybody else registered with FDA? Okay, so we have one person. Carol, would love to talk to you. What is your product that you have registered with FDA? And Carol, can you hear us? I think you're on mute. Oh, your mic is not working. Okay, maybe you can just tell us what your product is in that chat right there that you just I can see. Okay. Our product is an organic honey. Lots of honey out of Zambia. So that's great news. Yeah, again, honey is a super wonderful product. Can be very successful in the United States. But you just want to make sure that, you know, as it is a honey, it is subject to having certain types of bacteria levels in it, botulism and things like that. So you want to make sure that that food safety plan is filled out, and your U.S. importer is going to be looking for details on that in your food safety, because he'll have to collect it for his foreign supplier. Can you speak a little bit on that, Fabiola? Kind of like the risk of honey. Okay, thank you, Fabiola. She's remote today, so may have some.
I'm here. I'm here.
Oh, yeah. Did you have any comments on honey? I'm seeing a lot of honey exporters here. Did you want to have any advisement, like what's commonly a hazard with them and what they need to be careful about or mindful of?
So commonly with honey, the issue is drug residues in the honey, adulterated honey. So that's the main concern that I've seen. Honey is a product that's not likely to have, you know, contamination with pathogenic bacteria. Yeah, it's mostly drug residues, the biggest concern with honey, or foreign material. So.
Okay, so drug residue. Okay, anyone else? Questions? I would like to know some more products that are being exported from Zambia. We have successfully exported to the U.S. before. Okay, so Carol has exported before. Do you have a food safety plan, Carol? The Harp C food safety plan? It's probably not. You probably didn't know about it. Be very interested to see if Carol, we have HACCP. Okay, right. So a lot of companies, what?
That's a good start.
Yeah, that's a good start. That's 80% of the way, Carol. And like I said, you've been fortunate that you haven't been inspected by FDA yet, but now that you've gone to this workshop, thank goodness to the Zambia Manufacturing Association, they brought this knowledge to your radar, and you want to go ahead and make that next step. You've been very fortunate. You don't want to be caught without that Harp C plan. So that's the hazard analysis risk-based preventive controls plan that you need in addition to your HACCP. Now, like I said, I want to reiterate. HACCP is nice, but it's not completing the United States assignment. The homework is Harp C. HACCP is great in other countries, but you need the Harp C. So please, please make sure that, and like I said, you've been lucky, but if you get caught or inspected, and they will cite a violation for not having the Hep C food safety plan. So please have that. Anybody else? Give me some more questions. Your products, any questions about your products? Trade shows. We've got some great trade shows coming up. Keep in mind, if you need us to write your food safety plan so that you are ready for the trade show, this can take 30 days. If you need us to be your FSBP agent for the trade show because you don't have a U.S. importer, that can take 30 to 40 days. Fabiola's team, and she's the director of FSVP and food safety, so she can tell us if you can chime in if I'm wrong, Fabiola, maybe 30 to 40 days to get those FSVP agent work done for a trade show manufacturer.
That is correct. The sooner the better, because we want to make sure it's not just developing an FSBP plan and being your FSBP importer, we have to ensure that you're compliant. So if we see that you have issues, we're going to require you to take corrective actions, and these can take a little while. So it's important that before you export your food, you make sure that you're fully compliant so that if you want us to evaluate you and approve you as a foreign supplier, that you are compliant. We cannot approve suppliers that are not compliant. So it's very important to do that. And the good thing is that once we determine those issues in your food safety plan, we can, recommend the corrective actions that you need to take. We'll request you, we'll guide you through the process. And if you need a new food safety plan, we can also help develop the food safety plan. So it's important to, as soon as possible, if you know that you're exporting in the future, that you are proactive, and we can conduct that initial free assessment of your food safety documents. And if you want for FSBP agent, then we can, evaluate you for approval.
Absolutely. This is really big, guys, because we always, at the last minute, right before a trade show, like a week or two before the trade show, custom brokers will call us, manufacturers will call us and say, oh, we're going to Fancy Food. We need a FSBP written. And we're going, oh my gosh, Fancy Food is in 3 days. I was out of office yesterday and missed the first day. Oh, yeah. Can we look at that? Maybe look at the chat. I think Carol said something. But so it's important. So we have one of the major food shows coming up in June, and that's called Fancy Food. Again, I know that there have been Southern African companies that have come to that show. It's going to take you 30 to 40 days. So just go ahead and back it up from June. And if you're going to be going to that or want to go to that, we need to start your process now or very soon in April.
So if she was out of the office, is there a way to get the information? This is recorded.
Right. Okay, so you're already, yes. So I think this program is being recorded. Is that correct? Peter, Brian? I don't know if we're recording it or if you guys are recording it.
Yes, it's being recorded.
Okay, perfect. So it's being recorded, Carol, so you can get that information. It's good that you have passive, like I said, very good. But please move forward on getting that Hep C. And you said you missed yesterday's presentation, but I will say that my presentation was a summary of all that. It's kind of like I'm fast forward, so I hope I wasn't speaking too fast for all of you guys. But that's what we were in my segment, was a summary or a recap of yesterday in like a little mini way. Any more questions? Edna, yes.
I don't know if you've mentioned, I've missed the fees. Do you look at the size of the organization or the products that someone is exporting? Yeah, in terms of standing in as the FSVP.
Right. Well, often what we do is we have to look at the products, we have to look at the supplier, and that's more of we have a form, FSBP questionnaire to fill out. And then another thing is usually when we are doing educational and workshops like this, we leave money out of it for the most part, because out of respect for the nature of what we're doing, this engagement is educational. But we're very happy to report that you guys do have a discount through USAID, SADI Hub. We are offering all companies referred to us via them a discount in all services. And I want to make sure that, I think, Coast, are you on the line, or Brian? Brian, I don't know if you have this, but do you have the link that you should be pushing out to companies to drive them through the portal that shows us that they're a referral, and then we give them a discount? Do you have that link, Coast, or Brian, or Peter?
Yes, we have.
Okay, good. Who said that? Brian?
Yeah.
Ah, okay, good. So Brian, there's a link to everyone out here that if you tap on that link, it takes you to a portal that you'll enter for whatever service you're looking for. And then our company will recognize you as a USAID Study Hub referral, and then we'll give you a discount. So yeah, I don't have numbers in front of me now, but please reach out to us and use that link, and we will be able to give you that information.
Thank you.
You are super welcome. Anybody else? We'll see it.
It might still be.
Is there?
Any questions, comments, additions to what has been presented? Any interests in the trade shows?
Brian, do you normally attend? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, so for Zambia so far, for the June show, I think we have 4 potential companies that have shown interest to participate. But from the region, across all the 9 countries, I think there'll probably be around 20, 25, somewhere there.
Okay, that's great news, Brian. Peter. So please, like I said, I want to reiterate, if we know we have this June show and those companies need any of assistance from us, especially the FSBP agent work, we are going to need them to immediately reach out, because we need to start the process. We have to collect documents. We have to go back and forth in conversation, review these documents, and do a lot of work. And Fabiola's team is all poised and ready, but everybody waits to the last minute, and we can't guarantee we can get it done. And if we don't get it done, then those samples can't come here legally and are subject to being detained or issued a violation. So we want to make sure those samples enter the country properly. So please, please start the ball rolling. If you have a list of 20, find out if they need help, let us know, and we will start rolling on it.
So Coley, if I may jump in. So for these type of services, we require you to be compliant, like I mentioned. So it's important to do it as soon as possible. Also, if you feel that if you think that you meet the definition of qualified facilities, it is important to submit that attestation to FDA also as soon as possible. These FSBPs for qualified facilities, like we mentioned, have certain exemptions. So it's pretty easy to develop the FSBP for these, and the process is relatively quick. However, if you are subject to the standard requirements, you need to have a food safety plan, and you need to have this food safety system up to speed with FDA, then we will require all the food safety plan documentation. So it's important that if you're a small business, that you have submitted your qualified facility attestation, so we can benefit from those exemptions.
Right. That's a good point, Fabiola, because I spent probably 20 minutes of my presentation telling them not to do the attestation. Well, I didn't encourage it, but she's right. In this particular case, with time being of the essence and the detailed work that has to be done on an FSBP, if you did do the qualified facility for under $1 million and submitted your attestation for that, then yes, we have a modified requirement on the FSBP side, which goes faster. Okay, so that is the one time I could say, yes, there is some value in listing yourself as a qualified facility, because the due diligence is a lot less on our side to get you ready for the trade show. And I feel like that's something that you could take advantage of, but in the long term, please get the food safety plan written in full. Anybody else? Carol, did you have a new question or is that an old hand? If you don't have any other questions, Carol, you can put your hand down because I think it looks like you're asking another question. Ah, okay. Thank you. Okay. Well, it looks like to me that we don't have any other questions. That either means we're very thorough or everyone's asleep. So I'm hoping that we were very thorough and able to answer all of your questions before you ask them. But please know we're here and available. We work very closely with USA Sati Hub. So we want you to know you can reach out. Please take advantage of our online training. That's something you can do right there where you are. It's self-paced. It's going to give you the language and the knowledge you need to manage this initiative of export to the United States and doing trade and business, like I said, with Walmart, Costco, Kroger, TJ Maxx, Trader Joe's, and all of those guys. Be educated, be ready, be compliant.
Okay, thank you so much. So looking at the time, we are doing very well with time. So
Yes.
just to make sure that you were thorough, I'll open the floor to the participants just to give a quick takeaway of what they've learned in the 2 days that they've been with us, or in the 1 day that they've been with us, if they joined in today only. So I'll just start with the alphabetical order as the names are showing on my participants list. So just a few takeaway. It can be a word or it can be a brief summary of what you've learned or what you're looking forward to. So I will start with Benhilda.
Okay. Yes, for me, my takeaway from this training is because my background is it's microbiology, and I think these two trainings are of very key interest to us, and it's nice to know that you're offering them. They're quite expensive, though.
But they carry heavy weight, been held up on, like, once you get those training courses, just those two, the major one is the PCQI. It's pretty defining as far as the level of compliance and the knowledge of your facility. So it's something I've really encouraged. It's an investment, I agree, but it's important. It says a lot to have that certificate. It carries value in the United States.
Okay. Sorry, just one quick question. Do teas fall in any category under the FDA?
I'll answer that.
Yes, ma'am. Teas are subject to the preventive controls rule as well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anyone to give their takeaways from the sessions? Or can I continue with the sampling? Okay, I have a hand there from Mrs. Mwanza. Please go ahead.
Thank you so much, Sopani. My take is on preventive controls, preventive controls components, especially in the area of health hazard analysis over the product. And from what we learned, they emphasize that we need to have at least one member who can take up a course, and also to ensure that our products are always supervise and also to take control from the manufacturing place, the processing, and also from the receiving, and also to deliver the product so that it has no contamination at all. So for that one, I feel it's really, really vital for our company and for ourselves as the employers and employees to undertake for that course. Thank you so much.
Agreed. Agreed. 100% Rose. That's very well put. And I just received information from our management that they're going to offer a discount code for all attendees of this workshop will receive a discount code for online training. Did you hear me? So I want to, Peter, if you can reiterate, we are going to offer a discount code for all the Zambia workshop participants for online training.
Thank you. That's
Thank you. That's really nice to hear.
we appreciate it. Thank you so much for
They just let me know. So that price tag will go down, and we'll get you the product code. I'll get it to Peter or whoever the main contact is, Brian. We'll give you the product code, and then when you go to select the course online, would they just put the product code in there?
When they check out.
Yeah, when they check out, you'll put the product code in, and it will subtract
10%.
from the overall total. 10%, is it what it is?
10%.
Oh, 10%. It's a 10% discount code. So make sure you get that from your team before doing the online services purchase. Okay, so we have Edify.
Thank you. My take is twofold. Being a marketing person, I will start with the food safety, which you have given us. I think it gives us insights that as manufacturing companies, we need to take seriously food safety, including quality health management systems, so that at the end of the day, what we produce can be marketed anywhere and be something which is appreciated after the consumer has bought. Because what I see is the FDA requires so much on the feedback. And if the consumers who are buying our products are not going to give any good compliments of what we have sent to them, then we have lost it. So that tells us that we need to have seriousness and qualified personnel in food safety at our factories. And I also want to comment on the labeling part, because in marketing, if the label does not give a picture of who you are, it basically demarcates you, because people are not going to see anything good if the label is not attractive. So in the labeling and the information required, I see that it's very, very important that we take it and make sure what we produce is something one will stand and say, this is our product. I think on that part, I want to thank you so much.
Yes, you are so right, Edify, because one thing I tell everybody, you know, that food safety plan, you're absolutely correct. It is a marketing piece. For the longest time, companies like Walmart, Costco, and Kroger had kind of like a distrust of the food safety systems in other countries, certain countries. And especially when you have countries that don't highly export to the United States and smaller ones, people are kind of weary about the food safety practices. But with this new preventive controls Part C, it levels the playing field. It lets Costco, Walmart, Target, anybody know that even if this company is coming from a small country, Zambia, Lesotho, Malawi, they have to be compliant because they have that food safety plan. So now nobody worries anymore. You have that food safety plan, then you're good to go. So it's your calling card into the US market, mitigating the fear or the doubt of the quality of your food safety practices and processes. So please take that food safety plan and use it as going around town saying, hey, we're compliant, we have the food safety plan, which we didn't have before, so everybody doubted. So that's the good news.
Thank you so much, well appreciated.
Okay, thank you so much. We are now going to close the meeting. And like I did mention, this workshop has been organized in collaboration with the Zambia Association of Manufacturers and the USAID Southern Africa Trade and Investment Hub. So right now I will call on Mr. Peter Manda, who is the country representative for the USAID Trade Hub, to give his closing remarks. And then thereafter, Ms. Florence Mulea, the Chief Executive Officer of ZAM, will give her closing remarks. So Mr. Peter Manda.
Thank you so much. Once again, Coley and team were amazing. They have been doing this for us for quite a bit of time now. And you can see that the energy is still there and they're not fading away. They're even getting better. So they are.
Well, good. That's good news, Peter. I like to hear that.
That's very good to hear. I think colleagues, you agree with me that this was a very informative workshop. I had a lot of ideas that were running through my mind. We want to create employment in Zambia. So one of the things that people can do is to become
I think we lost you, Peter. Lost Peter. Ah, it was right on the saying something really important.
Yeah.
My apologies, I lost the line there, but I was saying you can see that there are opportunities in the whole process for manufacturers, for young professionals. I hope we had some young people in the workshop that can become the next Collies and the next Fabiola in the near future. So let's keep up the momentum. Let's generate the interest. Let's have an industry that is very compliant in terms of processes and in terms of market entry into the US. As the USA Trade Hub, we are very happy for the successful collaboration with ZAM. We're excited. We have done quite a few things together this year with ZAM and last year. So our collaboration is growing from strength to strength. Let's all keep up the good work. I want to also thank Sopani. I think you are growing up into a new role, Sopani. You're becoming a super facilitator. So maybe that will be your next your next job somewhere. Thank you so much for the good participation. I think we had a very super participation level. Sometimes when you have workshops that span over 2 days, you normally see a graph dropping. You start with 25 people and you end up with 7. In our case, we ended up today with more people than we had yesterday. So that already is an indicator that that the participants really enjoyed the workshop. So we can already pick up the indicator from that figure that today we almost, at one point when I counted, we're around 35. So that's very good. So thanks so much to everyone, the facilitators, ZAM, and you, the participants, for really, although it was virtual, I could see that you are not dozing, you are all active. So well done. Thank you so much. And back to you, Sopani.
Thank you so much, Mr. Manda, for the compliment. And indeed, it has been a very interactive meeting. I will call on the ZAM CEO, Ms. Florence Mulea, and just to add that she is an expert in trade policy analysis. So, Ms. Florence Mulea, I'll call on you to close the meeting.
Thank you very much to the team, all the presenters. We really enjoyed your explanations because they were clear. Some things were hard to understand, but you brought the message clearly to us, and we're looking forward to implementing those things. I was following through maybe if I could just give a small summary of some of the things that were really highlighted in this meeting. So we spoke about the aspects of food labeling and ingredients, and how we need to make sure that we have a statement of identity on our products. And we also need to make sure that we have a standard of identity, which lists the specific requirements for the foods or the different items. Then we also made reference to the net quantity of the products, and that it's important to put it on the documentation, on the packaging or the labeling. We also spoke of the ingredient statement and also the allergen statements. We noted that this is especially important for manufacturers, packers, and distributors. We also need to ensure that we put the country of origin on our products, and we need to use the new nutritional facts labeling that has been put in place since 2016 and is being implemented strictly this year in 2021 for those companies that are below the 1 million mark in terms of exports. We also learned a new term, GRAS, generally recognized as safe. And this, we were informed that we need to find this information either on different websites, or we can also ask our colleagues from those who were helping us. There were also examples on some of the products, such as honey, and on this product, it was really emphasized that the test that may be undertaken is just to ensure that the honey has not been adulterated, but it remains in its original state. Then we learned of the importance of having our plan with ensuring that our quality is we have a qualified facility, and in this we saw how we have to make sure that the Food Safety Modernization Act is complied with through different aspects of preventive control risk. Now, today we also learned of many aspects, including the e-learning library. I was particularly interested in this one because it was mentioned that we do have about 54 courses in this library. And even though it is subscription-based, we have been promised here that we could access it using a 10% discount. So that's a very nice addition to this whole training. After receiving so much information and so much understanding, we are still being given some preference in terms of accessing this information. So I'd really like to thank you, Collie, and the colleagues for giving us all this information and for helping our manufacturers. They have probably learned a lot from this session, and we look forward to utilizing these relationships that we have created with yourselves as a basis for asking more questions, as a basis for learning more, and also utilizing your institution, your organization as a consultancy point. I'd also like to thank at this point Mr. Manda and the team. It's been a pleasure working with you, and we have really worked quite well, as you have put it. And we look forward to having more Zambian exporters into the US market and beating that 1 million mark. So thank you very much, Collie, for emphasizing that it's better to be prepared because in preparing ourselves, we then create the doors for opportunity. I would also like to thank all the participants in this meeting. Indeed, thank you very much for being great participants and for staying the whole while. We really look forward to more interaction to ensure that we utilize this information that has been given to us and be able to come back and say that information that we got has allowed us to export into the US market. I'd also like to thank Mr. Manda once again for being a great co-host. Madam Sopani and Mr. Lewis yesterday for being great moderators on this session. And I would also like to thank Madam Colley and her team once again. We really appreciate and thank you very much. Have a good day, everybody, and enjoy.
Oh, Sopani, I did have one quick question for you. Will we receive a list? I think I just saw it, but will we receive a list of all of the attendees with email addresses so that we can, I'm not sure how marketing is going to handle getting that product code out to you guys, but I just wanted to see if I could capture the list of attendees with their emails and at least have it with our marketing team so we can cross-check the people that were attendees do get that product code.
Right, and we'll also include links to the training course web pages so you can see more information and then make your order. So those email addresses would be really helpful for that.
So who will send that to us?
Yes, so our team will put up all the participants list and we'll share with you, Colin.
Okay, perfect. And then are you the contact, Peter, for just communicating next steps on anything that we're doing regarding that?
I'll be best short, but yeah, I do that in the interview.
Okay, and Brian, I think too.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, everyone. We look forward to working with you and hopefully we'll get to a point where we can come again to Africa and do this thing in person. I look forward to it.
Indeed.
Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.